Welcome back to another episode of Spotlight. We have Zaheer here from the UAE. Hi, Zaheer. How are you doing today?
Hey Sydney, I'm doing great, thanks. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining. And we have met at an angel investment workshop that was about 5 or 6 days long that was hosted out in Eastern Europe. So it was really interesting to get to network with all these different angel investors with different backgrounds and perspectives. So we're going to learn a little bit about how he's investing out in the UAE today. So without further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into the angel investment game and what was an inspiration to you when you were going into this?
Sure. I think I've been in the entrepreneurship and investment scene since I kind of got into the UAE, roughly 6.5 to 7 years ago. I myself had been an entrepreneur since I was 12, 13 years old, dabbling in different businesses, following in the footsteps of my family who were all in business across very many different industries. So I've always been more inclined towards business. And when I got to the UAE, I found that first of all, there was not enough education around this space, and entrepreneurs didn't really know where to look. So it started out really mainly as investing in friends who had ideas, which I think where most people in the angel space start, and just making small initial investments to get them off the ground, get their projects going. And now I would still consider myself a small investor, not a large investor. We look at, maybe 2 or 3 deals a year at the moment, but we have plans to work on setting up syndicates in the region, primarily in the health space, because that's where my main focus is. And I run a health tech startup myself as well. And also we're looking at moving into the venture capital side later on, and in discussions with potential LPs to support us with that. So
That is great. And so I do want to ask you about the health and wellness space, of course. So because that is a great, interesting focus for you, I want to ask you first a couple of questions about what do you think are the trends going forward from now until, let's say, 5 or 10 years from now? What are the trends that we should be looking out for in the health and wellness space?
I think obviously COVID has given thrown some light on opportunities, primarily in the telemedicine and remote care space. These are not really new things; they've been around for a long time, but it took the pandemic to really throw it into higher gear. I still feel that the telemedicine, as it stands, is still following a very old system of care, where we've just replaced that interaction. And I think what's going to be transformative moving forward is where we start digitizing personalized care, where people are getting care based on their DNA, their blood type, their physical, because ultimately everybody is different at so many different levels. So I think personalized medicine is really where things need to go.
I think that absolutely, I agree that having telemedicine is a great one, especially for this time, which people should have had for a very long time. Hospitals in every major city in the world are overwhelmed. There is not one that's just like so relaxed, you know? So being able to expedite diagnosis and care is, of course, very important. And another one, that you brought up was how people are either they're a little bit intolerant to certain medication or a little bit they have reactions, but they're still getting it because it's the only thing in the market. So having that kind of
Exactly.
personalization is super interesting, and I'm hoping that that's going to come out in our lifetimes because people only need more personalized, customized things. And why shouldn't health be in the forefront? You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, what got you so passionate about this industry in the first place?
Been working on some ideas in the health space for the past maybe 4 to 5 years. Something that it was really a statement at a health show or an entrepreneurship show that had a health element to it. That somebody said that at the time that the health industry was potentially 40 years behind in innovation and transformation.
That's
And it
crazy.
got me thinking, and my wife actually does work in the health space, and hear stories about, you know, how things are being done. We also have a lot of doctors in the family, and unfortunately, they're taught not in a transformative way at medical school. They're taught how to do things the way we've always done things. And this is something that I find changing in some places in the world. There are colleges now in the UK that are teaching the new way of digital medicine, which is still at its early infancy stage, but there is, you know, very few medical schools that are starting to change the way they teach medicine. One of the interesting things a professor had, or surgeon and health innovator who'd visited the UAE had mentioned was in medical school, traditionally, you spend 6 months almost learning how to use a stethoscope.
Really?
And today, yeah, and today we have digital stethoscopes that give you the same result. So why do we still need to teach this? The tools have now evolved from, you know, what was developed hundreds of years ago to what we have today. So we need to transform with the times. And unfortunately, medical schools haven't. So.
Absolutely. Knowing that you come from a healthcare family and that you have a healthcare focus in your investment, in different places around the world, what have you seen that was particularly interesting in terms of a trend in a particular geography? Did you find anything that was that surprised you, or that you were impressed with, or that you were fearful of? Which one of those?
I'm seeing trends primarily in Southeast Asia going towards personalized medicine, which is, and not only personalized medicine from a Western perspective, but from a herbal and alternative medicine perspective too. So I'm seeing that's quite interesting, and it's starting to develop in India as well. So there's the herbal systems that are being digitized. That's pretty interesting because you know, outcomes and the treatments are very simple and non-invasive, but the outcomes are proving to be quite promising. Unfortunately, you know, for this stuff to move over into the West, you know, you've got all the rigmaroles and regulation kind of stuff that has to happen too.
Yes.
And then the FDA approval, and so it's a lot more difficult in the Western part of the world to take this faster, but it is happening slowly, and I see that digitization really starting to come through.
Great. And so that actually leads me to my next question, which was about what is it that you think either schools or governments or institutions like that can do to kind of accelerate our 30 years behind in healthcare? How can we accelerate better?
We need to you know, lead this change by not the current systems, but it needs to be an outsider to come in.
Okay.
You know, you've got, it wasn't a big car company that brought in electrical cars. It was Tesla, you know, and unfortunately it has to be that outsider who comes in and really takes charge, because that's the only way. If you look through history as well, when things have changed, it's been somebody on the outside who's thought, I can do this better.
Yeah, that's
So
very true. All the industrial industries, everything was brought by outsiders. You're right.
So giving that power or that flexibility. Now in health, the biggest challenge with that is meeting regulatory requirements.
Yes.
And one of the amazing things that I'm seeing happening here is in the UAE is the ministries at the government level are getting involved. They are engaging. They're creating programs for entrepreneurs. They're supporting them with things like office space, introduction to health facilities, lots of different incentives to get entrepreneurs involved.
Great.
But it is still, you know, early days, and there still needs to be more done. And I think I see a positive change, but we need to, in order to accelerate that, I think really it needs to go back to medical school, because they are still teaching in a very traditional, old school way. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So governments can be more involved with new innovative programs to kind of provide a lot more support and testing and lab work. I think that Southeast Asia is also doing a lot more of that as well, like the Singapore government providing so much support for these things and providing them the office space and mentors as well. And then of course, going back to medical school to learn outside of the textbook as well is a great thing, because of course, if we want to have more advancement, we can't just learn from the past, also learn from the future.
True, very true.
Well, thank you so much for giving us these insights and these perspective on these future trends. And now we'd like to play a game. I asked you to get out 2 pieces of paper. Did you get out your paper?
Yeah, I got some.
Okay, great. So this game, we're going to write a truth and a lie, and then we're going to guess which one is which. So it has to be something that is just like a personal experience or anything like that is great. And then we're going to guess. So I'll give you a minute to jot something down. Okay? Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll show you mine and then you're going to guess first. Sounds good?
Okay.
So here's the first one. I cannot eat spicy food. So you have to see if that is a truth or a lie. Here is the second one. I was locked in a cage with 28 pythons. Which one do you think is true? Which one do you think is a lie?
It's really tricky because...
You can ask me a couple of follow-up questions if that helps you. Or you can just...
I'm going to say that I was locked in a cage with 28 pythons is a lie.
You think this one is a lie? So you think I cannot eat spicy food?
Yeah.
That's wrong. I was locked in a cage with 28 pythons, and I love spicy food.
Wow.
So that's the trick. That's how you play the game. So let's see yours. Show me one at a time.
The first one is I jumped across a building to get away from a dog.
So so I got the first one, jumped across a building to get away from a dog. I really hope this is a really big dog in this story, if it's true. And then the second one?
And the second one is I won a golf tournament after playing golf.
I won a golf tournament after playing for just 2 months. Okay, so, how many people were in this golf tournament? 16, got it. Okay, great. So then it sounds like it's really hard. Well, I think that you jumped across a building to get away from a dog. Is that true?
That is true.
Yay! So tell me what happened. What happened in this story?
We had just moved to India a few years prior, and we're visiting some friends out of city, and their neighbor happened to have this massive dog that when he jumped, he would rise well above me.
Oh my God!
So we were on the terrace of the building one day, and there was no dog at the time. And as the dog came out from the door, he kind of jumped at me, and I literally jumped over the building to the next building to get away from him.
That is terrifying, and you were so little.
Yeah, and I've been scared of dogs ever since, unfortunately.
I would be too. That's terrifying. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. I'm sure that it's going to be very, very memorable for the people that watch this interview. And can you please tell us about a startup or a project that you're very excited about?
I'm currently working on a startup myself called Docturi, and Docturi is a platform that delivers health advice from the UK's NHS service in Arabic for the Arabic-speaking population. And we also got rights to deliver that information in 56 other languages. So we're working quite actively on that, and it's my current full-time project that I'm working on. So it's
perfect.
quite exciting.
Well, it is very important these days to get accurate health information that is accessible and available to people. So thank you so much for dedicating your time and your efforts into doing that. We are going to be linking the website in the comments as well and the description below. So be sure to check it out, you guys. And Zaheer, thank you so much for sharing this time with us and for allowing us to get to know you a little better. And we look forward to all of the great innovations that you are going to be a part of very soon. So thank you. And we wish you the best. And please, guys, feel free to contact Zaheer. What is the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably by LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. And
Okay.
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today.
Absolute pleasure. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.